All right, today is going to be a fun one, guys. It's going to be a little bit different, though. We're not going to be talking cards today. We're not going to be talking cardistry. We're not really going to be talking magic, although at the same time, we are kind of going to be talking about all of those things. Something that I get asked about a lot is how I get free stuff. There's obviously no secret to this, and this video is going to be meant more just to tell you about, I guess, my journey into the industry and how I went from just making videos for fun and with no agenda to eventually being able to utilize my resources to make better videos. Again, this isn't really like a secrets to success thing. This is more just a story, so if you're triggered by the clickbait, I apologize, but I am going to talk about how I've acquired some of the things that I've been fortunate enough to have. All that and more coming up, but before we get into it, please do drop a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, now that one's important. And without further ado, intro. And then like it.
Let's go.
All right, so let me get a few things out of the way before we get into this stuff. Number one, I do want to say this is obviously something that has worked for me, but not something that is guaranteed to work for everybody. As well, I'm aware that this is a fairly small channel, so none of what I'm saying is in any way meant to embellish my status as a YouTuber. These videos are primarily just for fun and or helping promote products that I enjoy. So I guess to kind of kick us off, here's kind of where it started. So if you're somebody who's into cardistry or magic or playing card collecting or, I guess making this type of content, I can't speak for everybody, but it was definitely like this for me. When I started making YouTube videos, I was not in any way concerned about getting free stuff. In fact, when I started YouTube, I wasn't really concerned with playing cards. When I started this channel, it was not meant to be a deck review channel. My first few videos, which thankfully have now been archived, those are all about performance. It was either me performing magic or it was me performing magic. So at that time, I wasn't really concerned about products. I felt like I had the tools that I needed. But as I continued making videos, as I started to discover new decks of cards or new gimmicks, I did start to kind of, get that itch for getting a big following and getting a bunch of free stuff. Especially with playing cards, I think once I started reviewing them, I wanted to immediately fall into this category that, we see people like Chris Ramsey in, or at the time even like Peter McKinnon, where they're essentially just using free playing cards on camera for money. And that just seemed like the most ideal situation, especially at the time. I was performing magic and selling cars, and neither one of those are very lucrative depending on the type of person you are. So I really just wanted to sit in front of my camera all day and make YouTube videos. Now, my first tip for this, because I feel like it is important to get out there, I am not oblivious to the fact that I was extremely lucky to get in kind of this second wave of magic and cardistry content online. You have your pioneers, your Alex Pandreas, your Chris Ramseys, Xavier Spade. You have these people that kind of have already achieved what we all think is like the ultimate goal. And for me, I was never really concerned with that piece of it as much as I was concerned with just wanting to have like a super rad collection and get everything for free and just be seen as this cool guy. Admittedly, that was years ago, but that phase lasted a lot longer than I would like it to. And what ended up happening was I became one of those people that started reviewing products, specifically hoping to get free products from these companies. It sounds really dirty when you say it like that, but I think if we're all honest with ourselves, there's a piece of you deep down that's done that exact same thing at least once. However, after plugging away and putting out videos every single week, I was doing like a Saturday morning YouTube channel. I did that for over a year before the very first sponsored video I got, or before I got anything for free specifically to be used on my channel. That's 1 year. Okay, now think about this in terms of how long you've been into cardistry or magic. It's going to be different for everybody, but think about if after 1 year, you've never made any contacts, you've never made any ground, you haven't got any sponsors, you feel like you're doing the right thing, but your content's not that good. You just want it so bad, and you feel like that's reason enough to try to get it. That was me, and that was wrong. The whole point of what I was doing started off, I think, with the best of intentions. I just wanted to do magic, and YouTube seemed like the perfect place to start sharing my magic, especially because around town, if you're a performing magician, as you know, a lot of times people either want to see your website or they want to see some reference material. For me, YouTube was like the ultimate resume. So fast forward back, so a year later, my very first sponsor comes up. It was Doc's Playing Cards. I got in contact with Doc's through a buddy of mine, Kyle McIntosh. Most of you know him, Diesel Illusions or Deck Cuts. Kyle's a really good friend of mine, always has been, and anyway, he hooked me up with Mike at Doc's Playing Cards. This was like the dream. The first box I got from Doc's, the first box I got was a brick of the Lit V1 playing cards, which I loved. I enjoyed that deck a lot. They sent me a full brick as well as prototypes for like 3 of their upcoming decks. The deal was they would send me those products for free, and all I had to do was make a little YouTube video with a Kier Gomes style intro talking about the decks. You guys, I'm not kidding when I say I was not qualified to be sponsored by anybody at this point. I was filming all my videos on an iPhone 7. I was editing these videos on iMovie, the free version of iMovie, on my iPhone 7. I had like no lighting set up. I had like no space to shoot in. I'm pretty sure I just propped my phone up against like a candle for like the first like 4 or 5 months. The point is, it didn't seem to matter because at the end of the day, I knew somebody who could help me out. I'm really grateful to Docs for taking that chance on me because that actually kicked off a creative kind of wave for me where I was kind of able to see myself getting a little bit more serious. I was able to upgrade some lighting. I was able to kind of create my own space. Of course, this is all while I'm sitting at less than 1,000 subscribers. So the first thing that I really want to say is sponsors really only want to sponsor you for 2 reasons. A, you have an audience that they want to reach and they want to use you as their kind of vessel into that audience. The second reason is you have a skill that that company wants to get for cheap, either, cheap pay or just in exchange for product. Neither one of those is bad when you have under 1,000 subscribers and you're not making any money off of YouTube. So of course I started doing that, but that brought along kind of a dose of what I think became ultimately a detriment to my entire career, I guess. Some of you might not know this, but up until very recently, I was not making a full-time living in the playing card industry. At this point, I am, but it took years to get here, and I think that part of that is due to me taking on sponsored work way too early. The thing is, it sounds cool to accept a free deck, even whether you like it or not. It's just cool to get free stuff and know that in your video you can show it off and say that you got it for free. I'm not lying. A lot of that was my motivation. But because of that, I felt like I was at a skill level that I was not actually at. I had this confidence in my videos. I had this confidence in myself that I really had not earned, nor could that be reflected in my following or my audience or my money. So I really had this big ego about myself because I started getting sponsors. I started off with Docs, and then a few months later down the road, I'm still reviewing decks, and another deck company hits me up. And I still to this day do work for that company, but at the time I shouldn't have been. I mean, I feel like I wasn't qualified, and I feel like my audience didn't justify these things. So part of this big tip, I know this is kind of a messy video, but I think it's a good subject. Think of it more like a podcast if you must. But I think really one of the biggest tips is make sure before you get to a point where you're accepting sponsorships, and definitely before you get to a point where you're proactively looking for sponsors, make sure you've got one of the 2 things you need, which is either the following that you need to appeal to a brand or the skill that the brand can use to kind of leverage you for cheap. Those are the 2 things that you should be focused on. Let me tell you something that I see as a playing card company owner all the time. I get hit up either on my personal account or on the Slow Hands account all the time from people that are saying that they're just getting into magic or they're just getting into collecting or they're magicians in their local town and they like to perform on the street. And what they do is they tell you a little bit about themselves. It's usually their age, how long they've been doing magic, and then they immediately go into, I'm looking to have you sponsor me. Could you send me some free decks and I'll use them in my videos? If I visit your account and you're private and I can't see your content, number one, I can't sponsor you because I have no way of verifying that the person I'm about to send free products to is my type of person. Number two, if I go to visit your account and you don't have a following either on YouTube or Instagram or TikTok or whatever the case is, I automatically feel like sending you the free products is not going to benefit the business, in that it won't reach the amount of people that it would take to get some customers out of it. But by far the biggest thing is if I go to your account and I see that the content you have isn't very good. And I don't mean good as in like it's grainy and it's boring or whatever. What I mean is if I go there and I see that the effort is there, I might want to sponsor you. But if I go to your videos and I see that you don't put any effort into your posts, why am I really trying to give you something for free to supposedly endorse my product if I don't see you endorsing any products? The big thing to take away from that is do it for yourself first. I certainly don't think before you've got a following or before you know what your specific special thing that you can offer these companies is, you should not be out there proactively looking for sponsors. Now, this is a personal take. You don't have to take my advice on this. I know plenty of people who are successful by not doing this, but I personally have a rule. I usually will not reach out to a company to sponsor me. I typically will either let the company come to me, or if I do want to work with them, I'll get to know the people behind the company. I'll be a customer first, and then we can figure out a project to work together on later. A good example of this, I have been a long-time customer of Gemini. I do occasionally do some work for them, and I do occasionally get some free products from them, but at the end of the day, I buy the decks because I like them. If I didn't, I wouldn't accept them. Same thing goes for brands like Organic. I've been working with OPC since probably like their 4th or 5th deck. I was a customer before that. Before OPC reached out to me, I already had the entire to-date OPC collection as a fan. I think it's really important when you're looking for sponsors, or if you're looking to get to a point where you can rely on the work you do for these companies to either support you financially or support your collection or at least save you some money on buying fucking playing cards. The most important thing is make sure that these are brands that you understand, that you have something you can offer. I have a small audience on this YouTube channel, 7,000 subscribers, I think 7.5. I would be considered like a grain of sand in comparison to other playing card related content on this channel. A good example would be somebody like Chris Ramsey. Chris Ramsey probably does not need to accept free decks. However, we can still see that occasionally if he sees one that he gels with, it might pop up in a video, and you know his opinion is good because even if it is a free gift, even if it is a sponsored thing, the most important thing is to put yourself in a position where you can be positive about the product you're reviewing because you're only reviewing the stuff that you enjoy. So my next bit of advice is if you start accepting sponsors, know when to say no. I'm not joking. I wish somebody would have told me this earlier on. It gets so addicting accepting free stuff. And then when money gets involved, it gets even more addicting. I can't tell you guys how many times I've had to really anchor myself in my beliefs and say no to work that I know I truly don't need to do. When I was getting free decks, I would just say yes to everything. And that's how I got a lot of the decks that you guys see in the background of my videos, is just by saying yes to it. The problem that then leads into is it's hard to separate me as a promoter of all of these brands from my own brand. A huge problem that I have is that it's difficult for me to get slow hands moving and off the ground because I spend so much time and energy promoting other brands. Now, of course, I have found a way to make that work for me, but it takes time, and there were many, many times that I said yes to something that I should have said no to. If you're just accepting free products and there's little financial investment that has to go into it from the company, it's not as big a deal because at the end of the day, they're getting what they pay for, and if they pay nothing, they might get nothing. But if you do happen to get to a point where financially you rely on your ability to help promote these decks and your clients and sponsors become a little bit more than just a plug for free stuff, that's when you have to learn the difference between saying yes because you can and saying yes because you really want to do it. As you guys know, I stopped doing deck reviews recently, and that was kind of part of it. I kind of put my foot down because I got to a point where I wanted to focus on promoting my own stuff. I feel, I've got 3 decks under my belt now. I've got friends that I want to make projects with. I've got so much going on that I would like to spend my time talking about my own projects and not other people's projects. Now, again, finding a way to make that work means finding a way to do this full time so that I have time to split my time between sponsored work and my own, attempt at running my own business. Bottom line, make sure that you build your following first and make sure that you're real. Build your following on being organic, because then you're going to get an organic following of people that truly want to support you, and that is when sponsors want you. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, I know it was kind of messy. Apologize for that. But hopefully you did enjoy this information. If you guys would like to see like a part 2 to this, do let me know by leaving me a comment. Of course, drop a like on the video if you like this type of stuff, and I hope you'll consider subscribing for more awesome content, tighter and less messy than this. With all that being said, I hope everybody has a wonderful rest of their day. Now get out there and get some fucking sponsors.